Hello, support of indie agency news. Let's meet an indie agency. We're heading off to New York. New York, the town's so nice, they named it twice. Lauren and Kitty, ready, set, rocket. Hello, hello.
Hi.
Hello.
What's cooking in New York these days?
I mean, everything and not so much. It's nice out finally.
Typical New York. Typical New York. No, that's great. First of all, thank you so much for your support in your membership. Really appreciate that very much and helping us build this mission. I want to start with a little bit of the agency background. So first of all, introduce yourselves and then just let us know when the agency was started and a little bit of the background of the agency.
Yeah, I'm Lauren Bello. I'm CEO and one of the partners at Ready Set Rocket.
Hi, I'm Kitty, Chief Strategy Officer and one of the partners of the agency as well.
Okay.
We were founded in 2009 out of New York. The two founders, Aaron and Alex, basically had a vision for, in sort of a market where everything was, throwing up Facebook pages and buying likes and flash sites that couldn't be crawled. How do you go to market with a digital agency and a creative agency that's very much rooted in an understanding influency and data, and really rooted in an understanding of broader business objectives and how everything that you're deploying creatively should be kind of bubbling up to those business objectives. So I think very early on, we've had more of a consultative model, and that's really what we've leaned into to scale our agency over the years.
Yeah, it makes sense. In 2009, that was an interesting time to start an agency. I'm sure that there were plenty of stories. There were plenty of stories about muddling through that time.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I didn't start until 2012 and Kitty joined actually later that year. But I think the biggest thing that they saw over those first couple of years when, it started off them, just both of them freelancing and slowly building up a team. I was the fourth employee in March of 2012, was getting a foot in the door, having data conversations when no one knew how to sort of quantify the impact of a lot of the efforts, Like we worked early on with brands like Michael Kors to define the value of a like when they were, putting a ton of investment into social follower acquisition and, helping organizations like Univision figure out what a sort of corporate marketing strategy looked like as it related to digital lead generation, what you can pay per lead, how do you sort of like track throughout the sort of lead funnel, how do you integrate that with sales efforts? So, sometimes not the sexiest stuff up front, sometimes some really fun stuff, but it was a really great way to get a foot in the door with big brands as a tiny agency. And then obviously the whole land and expand strategy, because really our core capability is creative.
Okay. So that's what you would say that you were best known for. What would you say are three other core strengths of the agency? Because every agency has a list of, everyone has a list. These are the things that we do. But in a list of 15, 20 things, there's probably three that really stand out. So what would you say are your top three there?
Yeah, I would say our top is creative, like content and storytelling. But I think what really differentiates that is our fluency in data, and we do media as well. So, we're by no means the agency anyone's going to go to buy a Super Bowl ad. We're very much like a full funnel customer acquisition, growth marketing, data driven, lead generation, customer acquisition driven media partner. So I think the fluency in the media side and then the fluency in the data side makes it so that we have very different considerations when we're developing creative. It's not just about, what's going to get the award or what we think sounds best or whatever. It's very much rooted in an understanding of where it will be placed, an understanding of platform best practices and considerations, a very deep rooted understanding of how we want to go about testing and optimization of creative related to those sort of like media and data capabilities. So really upfront thinking about all of the ways that we can kind of deploy creative and make sure we have, the sort of data loop to inform what's working, what's not working, what are we learning about the customers over the course of, a campaign or an engagement, and how do we make sure that we're focused on efficacy and again, going back to like, what are we actually supposed to be doing in terms of impact on the business that we're partnering with, and how do we make sure we're giving them the information coming out of this that helps them to better understand their customer, that helps them to prove that, they got an ROI off of this beyond marketing KPIs.
Kitty, where does strategy fit in?
Strategy is the foundation for everything that we do, just so that there is like a blueprint and a direction for how we're doing it. And it's really on the strategy level where we're thinking of how does the business objectives connect to our marketing objective, and then how does that connect to our marketing and communications objectives. So really kind of acting as those connection points and making sure everything is sound and that we're not doing anything that doesn't ultimately move the needle towards those broader business objectives.
Let's talk a little bit about the importance of independence. Why is being independent so important to the agency?
Yeah, I think this has been an interesting thing to become self-aware of in the last few years, just because we've started working on larger IATs and working with these huge holding company type of agencies. I mean, from my perspective, it's just we're small, so every client matters to us, right? And we're independent, so there's no bureaucracy our clients are paying for. There's no red tape anyone needs to cut through internally. Like, everyone has access to the partners and to the executive team. You really can't hide bad performance, so you kind of have to be a rock star to work here. I hate that word, but there I go using it. And at the end of the day, like, there's no client that doesn't matter to our revenue and to our success, right? So like, I don't know how else to put it, and excuse my language, but like, everyone here has to give a shit to be set up for success. And I think that makes a difference to our clients. Like, they see that we're thinking about what's next. They see that we challenge them when we think they're not doing the right thing. We're not just like taking orders because we have an FTE model or something like that, right? We know we need to prove the value of every engagement to get the next engagement. And I think it's hard to find people that give a shit, and it's hard to find a whole agency that gives a shit. So right. I would say for us, that's the real driving force behind, the type of feedback that we get from our clients that we keep for 5, 6, 7 years. And I think that's very much rooted in, we don't have the sort of like lords at the top telling us what needs to be done or driving everything by profit margins or shareholder stakes or stock price or anything like that, right? It's really just about like making sure that we're doing right by our clients, because we know that's how we're going to grow the business.
Right. Kitty, what about you on independence?
Yeah, and I think that also, like everything Lauren said, but it also gives us kind of that opportunity to continue improving. Like, we're not stuck in a certain way of doing things. Like, we always get to define what that looks like. And even when I say we, that's not me and Lauren only, that's the team and how brilliant they are. So when they come in, and by being small and being independent, we really are kind of care about people sharing their ideas, and we take those and use it in how we continue evolving our work and what we do. And it's always in the pursuit of making it better. So I think that helps when you are independent or you're at this kind of like smaller indie size to do so.
Right. You've touched on a lot of reasons that brands should work with the agency, but if you distill it down into one thought, why should a brand work with Ready, Set, Rocket?
We're going to focus on your business, not just the task at hand. And I think that just means that we're going to have filters for impact, and we're going to help you to understand what the best path toward your goal is, not, what we should charge you and how to do the best job on what you're asking us to do. And I think that like extra step of questioning the directives you're getting makes a huge difference. And I think in big machines, you're just not able to do that, right? You kind of have to be more of an order taker in a lot of ways.
Right. What about you, Katie?
Yeah, it allows us to be more flexible in terms of, okay, we need to get this thing done by this date. I think we are able to adapt to those kinds of situations a lot better in terms of being nimble, being more bespoke even in terms of what they need. And I would say the way we also function as an agency, as well as everybody on our team, is really treating ourselves as if we were part of our clients' organizations. We know your audience, your business, your industry just as well as they do. And I think that makes a difference in terms of the ways we work with them, especially on that kind of like timeline level or anything like that.
Right. Let's move on to talent. Why should talent be putting the agency on their list?
I mean, the thing that popped in my head when Kitty mentioned before about like, the opinions and the changes aren't just coming from us. I think that's the biggest point, right? Like, we have people coming and joining us from bigger agencies, and they'll complain about things, and we're like, hey, that's a really great point. Like, you should have a discussion with this person, and you should decide how we should change our process, or, how we should change how we're approaching this client, or we should change the course of this project, or, whatever it is. And I think a lot of times there's people that come and they don't realize how much control they have over their own destiny and how much, you know, their ideas are welcome and how much they don't have to ask for permission on a lot of fronts. And I think sometimes that takes kind of untraining people's brains that have kind of just been stuck working within a system. But once they sort of understand that, I think that's very empowering to them to own the work and also to like their job a lot more, right?
Well, that helps. Yeah. Katie, what about you?
Yeah, I think for me, kind of just going back to everybody can contribute and make an impact on the team. I think that continues to be the type of environment that we foster. I mean, even personally myself, I started at RSR as an intern. So even being able to grow into CSO and partner now, that's everything that we really want to continue creating as an agency when it comes to why talent should consider us. Like, this is a place where you get to grow, you get to learn. Your ideas matter to us. So, you know, keep that kind of energy coming. Yeah.
That's interesting. So when did you start? When did you start? You said it earlier. When did you start?
2012. Yeah.
Okay. And so you were an intern, you were in school at the time?
I just graduated college and I couldn't find a job.
Oh, really? Where'd you go to school?
I went to Baruch.
You went to Baruch. Okay. Got it. Okay. Oh my goodness. And so
Kitty planned our banger holiday party in 2012 to Atlantic City.
Okay. So that, okay. All right. We're peeling the onion back a little bit. No, this is okay. So hold on. Let's back up a second. So you graduated. Where else did you look? I'm curious because you were just probably. I've been there, so I completely understand. And everybody has a story around that, right? They have a little bit of a hustle story. So I'm curious about where else you were looking, because this also helps, and this helps talent understand part of this process.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I looked pretty much anywhere. Going to Baruch, at least, it's a school with a ton of other accounting and finance friends.
Yeah.
So they're all getting offers even before graduation, and I wasn't.
Right.
So I looked at pretty much every single agency and applied to those. And Ready Set Rockets showed up on one of those career job boards at Baruch, and I applied for the internship there. Yeah.
I'm like, okay, so wait, hold on. You now this Atlantic City party. Please expand on that.
You tell me.
Well, Kitty was our office intern, and I want to say we were probably like 6 full-time people at the time, and like 13 or 14 interns. You know, we were like trying to figure out what we actually do. So our holiday party was like just a total mess. You know, we were like
go to Atlantic City.
Stages. We took a limo to Atlantic City, got a bunch of hotel rooms for everybody. But I had a holiday party the next day. This is my favorite story, and I love that this is coming up right now. I had a holiday party at home. I had friends coming in, so I was like, I can't stay overnight. So, and I'm new, and I was an account manager at the time, like fairly early in my career. And Kitty's like, yeah, I got you a bus home. Don't worry. Like, I got you a ticket. The Greyhound station is right around the corner. And I'm like, I feel like that's not appropriate, but I don't know if that's like expected from the owners. And I just casually mentioned it to one of the founders, and he's like, oh my God, you cannot take a bus home at 2 a.m. I was like, I'm so glad we're aligned there.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, I have a
But
budget.
she's been scrappy from the start. She knows how to make a budget work, you know?
No, and that's fun. The only reason I bring that up is because my family's from South Jersey, and Atlantic City we went to quite a bit. So that's the morbid curiosity about it. Last question is more of a thought experiment. Whether they're a client right now, an existing client, or a CMO or a marketer that you'd like to say hello to, who would that be? Who would you want to say hi to?
I don't know. That's a hard question.
Well, for our team, like we love cultural institutions. We also love, all things that are food and drink, kind of beauty, D2C, consumer related stuff. I think our team would enjoy working on things like that.
Is there a brand out there that you're like, oh, we'd love a little piece of that? Probably a lot.
My personal answer is always Barry's Boot Camp, just because I feel like they've kept me a sane person over the last 15 years of my career, but and I also just love what they've done with the expansion of their brand. But yeah.
So no one leaps to mind, just D2C in general.
Yeah, we've been doing a lot more CPG specifically.
Oh, okay.
So that's been really exciting. Been doing a lot of work recently. We just worked on a rebrand for Rogaine, rebranded GX. We're bringing Rogaine back to market with a big campaign.
Well, I mean, look, here we go.
Yeah, we got to hook up. We got to hook up.
I have a 5 head now, so please.
I was born with a 5 head, so that's why I got to have a hair situation. Yeah.
Oh my. I used to have short hair, and people said I looked like Phil Collins. So yeah, Phil Collins. So there you go.
Our director got a haircut the other day and said she looked like Rod Stewart. So we can keep this theme of references to 80s artists going.
My God, so funny, so good. Okay, well, that's very, very cool. So wide array, a range. You're not necessarily just so focused in one territory, and that's great. I mean, it's great to be able to have those gears to be able to shift through for brands. That's awesome. Lauren and Kitty, Ready Set Rocket out of New York. Thanks so much for joining us, and we wish you the very best of continued success.
Thank you. So nice to meet you.
Thank you.